Welcome to the Word of Mouth Podcast, a series of honest, inspiring conversations with creatives from all walks of life, some in our industry, others far outside it. What connects them all? Passion, persistence, and the courage to keep creating. So listen in and get inspired. Look up our guest, and if you find yourself nodding along, feeling seen, or more hopeful, hit subscribe. Join our journey, and let's keep this conversation going. Let's keep spreading these stories the way they were meant to be shared, by word of mouth. Welcome back to another episode of the Word of Mouth Podcast presented by Johnny Davis Digital Solutions. Today we're joined in the studio with two very, very talented showroom designers, and I'm so excited for this conversation because this is one of those industry-related conversations that people, they don't really realize how much work and detail and art and artistry goes into showroom design and crafting a once a market experience for anyone who walks in those doors. So we're joined today with Melissa Way and Addison Gant. If I could turn the microphone over to y'all and just give me a brief introduction of your background, kind of where you started from, and we'll go from there.
Okay. I started my design career at UNC Greensboro, and I graduated with a Bachelor of Interior Architecture, which while I was in school, I did internships with High Point Furniture Market, different design groups, and we did a lot of showroom design, residential design, model home design, like staging model homes and such. But I landed in the furniture industry because it's basically what sparked the interest, and there was a little more stability there.
Okay.
For me, that's kind of what drove me to be in furniture.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Addison?
So I graduated from High Point University in 2019 with a BA in visual merchandising, which is a very, I would say, like slim degree. A lot of people don't have that. So it kind of allowed me to create what I wanted to out of it. So I was, with access to the furniture industry, I was very easily able to get an internship at a great company, and they kind of helped me along the way, and then doors just kept opening up, and I ended up with a furniture industry scholarship headed up by Dawn Brinson, or Dawn Brinson.
Yes. Yeah, we love Dawn.
So that kind of opened doors for me, and I just kind of fell in love with showroom design, and I kind of stuck with it, and then I found Melissa.
So when you were pursuing your degree, you were in the furniture capital of the world already. So did you already have an appreciation for like individual furniture design? Myself, when I came into this, I thought a chair is a chair. Yeah. There's no story to a chair. Did you come into it that same way, or did you already come into it sort of an appreciation for home furnishings?
I think I've always kind of been creative in that way, but I didn't really know I would like it until I just took more so took a chance on it. I didn't really know that I would like it until I was really in it, and I think the people that I was working with made the difference in me growing to love the industry.
Can you share showroom design? Can we break down for our viewer, what is showroom design? How does it differ from interior design? Like what do you have to look at that maybe an interior designer or a lifestyle designer doesn't have to look at as you're approaching your design?
Well, showroom design to me, it is like having a house. If you would take, say, a 4,000 square foot house and multiply that times 100, our space is 110,000 square feet.
Okay.
It's a very large space, as we're a shared resource between two companies, Legacy, Classic, and Craftmaster Furniture. And within that space, we have so many different furniture collections, from contemporary to modern, to transitional, country. There's just so many different variations within our line that there's not just one look. I think when you do a residential design, you're going for one look within that home.
Right.
You're not going to have like traditional setting and a contemporary setting and so forth. So being able to blend the design within the space is very important in showroom design.
And that changes seasonally, right, too?
Oh,
so
absolutely.
you're changing this home, but you're still keeping it on brand, so there still has to be cohesion between all of those smaller home designs, essentially.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, and tell us about the difference from one market to the next, or maybe an experience that you both have had or shared in the showroom you're in now, where it went from night to day within 6 months.
I think COVID was a big,
for sure,
a big, determining factor of like changing styles and that kind of thing. because people went from furniture to look like buying furniture for looks to buying furniture for living.
Right.
So I think like styles got a lot more casual after COVID. I think we, like our companies in particular, I feel like have kind of walked away a little bit from like that more modern contemporary, and we're going for a more like casual look now to appeal to the masses.
Okay.
A very welcoming lived-in
Yes.
space.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
I think is what a lot of people are going for.
That makes sense. So when so we're talking about the showroom design and the aesthetic quality, and it's got to be kind of helpful that you have a background in visual merchandising. You know, so how do you blend those two? How do you blend the aesthetic with the shoppability, you know, for your guests?
I would say, you know, you create a flow and you create a layout. You want to like pique the interest of your customers at the right time.
Okay.
You know, and yes, we need everything to look beautiful, but I think through the aesthetic, you make all that happen together.
And I would add to that by saying that one thing I've always thought of in showroom design and in the spaces that we design is we want to be able to create a memory point in the showroom. A memory point is something that makes someone want to come back every time.
Okay.
Like, and Addy and I like to do projects together, like hand paint on walls. Like we had a chalkboard wall that we drew. It was very like juvenile, but everyone loved it. Everyone thought it was wallpaper. But like we want to spark interest of our consumers that come in to make them want to come back and be like, hey, what did those girls do this time?
That makes sense.
You know, that makes it stand out to them.
That's what I was wondering. Okay, and I liked, you know, the application of psychology, you know, like getting inside your potential buyer's mind, because again, if you're designing a home, you're designing one cohesive experience for the person that either lives there or visits there. So here you have to design all of those things, the same touch points, you know, the same what did you just call it?
A memory point.
A memory point. You know, so this is going to stay with them, making them want to come back more. And then as they're coming in, I'm sure that there's a breakdown or sort of a rough template where, you know, they're coming in at this smaller thing that's shoppable, that leads the eye and the, you know, experiencer into maybe the entire bedroom, you know, set, you know, while kind of leading them through. Where does the psychology in design play into how that works? You know, like, is there do you lead out with the bedroom? Do you lead out with a dining group? Like, what's the focal point of a collection?
Well, I think a lot of that kind of varies. It really depends on the collection, what you think the strongest piece is going to be. Like your show winner, like the prize of the show, be it a large upholstered bed or this giant trestle table. You really don't know. But I think what's so important, speaking on the psychology, something to touch on is the lighting in the space, the mood that you set for the customer. You want to make it an experience as they walk through the space. If you walk in the front of the showroom and say the walls are chocolate brown, and as you walk through, like it transitions.
Right.
Like, so you know when you're moving on to a new collection.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, that does. That I like that. That was one of the questions I had was, how do you evoke emotion? Like, how do you lead your guest through, you know, tranquility versus high energy, or, you know, you were talking about earlier, juvenile, you know, chalkboards, you know, very tactile things are in the room because it's you know, creating off of a child's imagination.
Right,
you know, essentially.
absolutely.
So what are the other emotions that you're trying to tie into?
Well, I think that scent is a very large emotion that you experience when you walk into a space. And I think we like to pride ourselves on that at market. You may walk into our showroom in between markets and not smell a thing, but at market, we like to pride ourselves on scent. People walk into our showroom and they smell a smell and they're like, gosh, it smells so good in here. Like, what is that smell?
That is awesome.
And we can share that with them. And, you know, we want to make it kind of like our private label.
Right.
You know, so that when they come in the showroom, like, yeah, it smells like legacy. You know, It smells like Craftmaster in here.
That is cool. And that, again, those are memory points, you know, like they associate, you know, they say that smell is the strongest of our senses, you know, for memory, you know, so they're creating a sense of home, you know, a sense of belonging, you know, with those different smells. Colors, you know, color palettes, do you follow Pantone, like colors of the year, or do you try to, you know, paint a different picture?
It honestly depends on our furniture collection that we're introducing for that market, but we do like to incorporate the Pantone colors of the year. And sometimes I feel like we just get lucky. Like
we
whatever
do,
we
like way more.
Yeah, we just got
way
back
more
from
than you think,
Atlanta,
yeah.
and we have an introduction coming up with Country Living, and it was everywhere. It was like it was meant to be. Like this collection that we're going to be introducing in the fall, just all of the colors and the artwork and the accessories that we fell in love with, it just blended perfectly into what we have planned for our new collection.
It really, when it falls into your lap, it's kind of like, oh, okay, we are getting this right.
Yes.
You know, this is what the customer wants to see.
Right.
Because we'll go to Atlanta to shop for our own showroom, our
Okay.
accessories, rugs, lighting, and things to complement, you know, our collections. And we'll walk in and we'll be like, oh man, we got to have that, you know?
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it gives us an experience to be the customer also. So when we go to Atlanta, we walk into a showroom that smells really good and we're like, oh man, this is, you know, this is the place we want to be, or where the lighting's done really well, or, you know, we're very lucky as designers to be able to experience it from the other end.
For sure. And can you talk a little bit about different collaborations you do, either with other brands, other lines, other markets? You know, when you're going down to Atlanta and you're taking off the public facing, you know, designer hat, but now you're putting on, you know, what's resonating with you, you know, what emotion are you carrying through different showrooms? How does that look? Like, describe that journey to us a little bit.
Well, I would start by saying we have to go with a budget in mind. You know, we are spending the money of someone else, so we have to be very respectful of that. And we have a plan, a very detailed plan of like what bedding we're going to purchase, what our needs are, what showrooms we're going to visit. You know, every appointment is very important, and we have a very short time to do a whole lot of work. But as far as like evoking the emotion, again, like the smell, we will go back to some of the same showrooms just because of the way it smelled, or the aesthetic, like the creative displays that they have in the showroom. We may not even have to buy from that particular vendor, but we go just to experience it and get a little design inspiration while we're there.
I like that. So, and what inspires you? Like typically, like you two work very well hand in hand. You know, what inspires you, and can you kind of read each other's minds? Are you at that point where you're like, this is going to be a good experience?
It's actually really weird because we do read each other's mind. We finish each other's sentences.
Yeah.
Like we are a very good blend.
Okay.
I'm so grateful that we have that relationship, because I think that if you don't, it makes designing for especially a large showroom on the scale that we do very difficult.
And what design are we leaning towards during this fall? Like, do you have any like inspiration or anything you're excited and you can talk about?
Color.
Yeah.
Color.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say color's definitely. People aren't afraid of color anymore.
No, they're not.
Yeah. And I love that because I love color. And a lot of people are still black and white and gray, and that's fine.
Yep.
And that's good. You know, we definitely need that still, but I definitely think color is on its way back.
Okay, that's good. So no, or less agreeable gray.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
absolutely.
Lamb's ears
Grays are
out.
going away.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. And then what about in terms of lines and product lines that you're kind of excited to?
Lots of curves.
Curves. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're going to organics.
Yes.
So that's interesting. A few weeks ago, we had Jason Phillips on with Phillips Collection, and he was talking about how, a lot of the like the Scandinavian minimalism, like the hard edges and things, those are starting to kind of take a back seat into, there's no straight lines in nature. We're kind of leaning into that in durability and design. How does that change the traditional legacy where you were talking about you're kind of getting away from, some contemporary design, you're going to more of like a transitional or casual. So is this kind of a step in the casual but still like modern look? Okay.
I would say so. I feel like hard edges are kind of, I don't want to say a thing of the past, but I feel like with our line in particular, they are transitioning out.
Okay.
And we're getting more organic. We're getting, a lot more curve. And I think that comes with the factories that our company uses and their abilities to create that curve and that organic, feel. Whereas things aren't just a box anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So how does that influence the showroom design? Like, are we going to start incorporating more like organic, turns or?
Well, I think textures can be very organic. I
Very
don't
much.
think it has to be just in the furniture and the case pieces. I think the textures, the lighting can be organic.
Right.
You can set the mood of the lighting to the tone of the showroom.
Okay.
If you have a lake house collection, you probably want it to be bright, cheerful, and sunny. If you have something that's a little more modern and moody, you might want the lighting to be a little darker.
Okay. Are there lighting changes even within your showroom, like that you can kind of, from one spot to another, you can kind of start controlling the temperature or the intensity?
Absolutely.
That is cool.
And lighting affects our finishes so much as well. So you want to make sure that everything's evenly lit within the space that you're creating, because if not, it can throw the finishes off and the consumer can call you out for that.
Absolutely. Okay. So you've got lighting, color, texture that's going into the showroom. I guess to take maybe a step back in the process of it, where does from the concept of, creating a new showroom or a new space all the way to the day that you're unveiling it, to market, what kind of time frame are you talking within there? And then what work is done within there? Can you walk us through kind of, from a sketch to the final complete?
Basically, we are giving a product line sketch of a piece of furniture. And for the whole collection, we get product line drawings for each collection that we introduce. And then from that, we go on to the product that is going to not be moving forward for the next market. And we discontinue that product. We have a giant sale. And then we come back, we go to the drawing board on AutoCAD, and we lay out the new floor plan.
Okay.
And from there, I'll let Addy add some on this.
I think, we reach out a lot to our product team on what is their inspiration behind, what they're creating and what they're giving us. So we've had French rustic groups. We've had super modern groups in the past. We've had all these, different styles, and they kind of say we think the customer would receive this better if it was merchandised in this way. And so we kind of take that and run with it. We're big on Pinterest.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
sure.
I think that you create a personality
Yes.
for each collection. And, Adam is a single male.
Okay.
And he lives as a bachelor. He's a graphic designer. You create a theme almost, but it's a personality or a demographic for the room so that you can create a story.
I like that. So it's story driven.
Yes.
That's awesome. That actually ties so organically into everything that we do on this podcast, which is telling the story within, the surface level presentation. It would be like a good way to kind of put that. So you develop, every one of these vignettes, these collections that you're designing within here, you've developed a character for that. You've developed somebody who you could just drop in there and say, this is your home.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That is cool. And so how many different personalities do we have in your showroom?
Oh, a lot.
Goodness. There's too many to count.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
That is interesting. So you have this completed, and then that you go from that and your AutoCAD, and then when you start installing it, are there certain challenges that you're overcoming, or?
Well, you have construction.
Okay.
Lots of construction that takes place. And, there are very tight timelines from the construction to the painting to getting the accessories ordered and in-house unboxing. And the other thing that kind of ties us up is the containers coming in. A lot of times, it might be the night before market and you're just getting your containers. And that's why being prepared and having a plan is so important. If we didn't plan, there would be no way that we could get our job done, because for our showroom, again, it's 110,000 square feet, and there are 4 of us that work full time, 2 designers and 2 guys, and we kill it, but it is a lot of work.
And how long, so when we're talking those timelines from that last container that comes in, markets the next day, how much time do you give yourselves to do the construction, the planning, the painting? Is it half of a year, or is
it's about 6 months?
Is it about 6 months?
It basically starts at the end of one market to the beginning of the next.
That's incredible. So you're remodeling a 100,000 square foot home every 6 months. I mean, that's pretty incredible. Have there been any unexpected snafus or anything like that that's happened during this that was maybe those last minute things or, logistic based things where you had to kind of improvise and adapt at the last minute?
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. We've had, containers. I mean, we are always down to the wire on getting the furniture in there and unboxed. And I think we've, had stuff for market or for pre-market where it just doesn't show up. Like the port's clogged up in Virginia or in LA where it's coming from. And so you just kind of have to make do.
Yeah.
And you don't want an empty room on your
That's
floor
what I was thinking.
because it looks bad, like to the customer. It just looks like you're unprepared, and like they don't know all the issues that you've had, and they honestly really don't care. They're just there to see it. And so we've definitely had to like pivot, I would say, and pull something out of the back, and that we have like insurance policies that we hold on to just in case, so that way we don't have an empty spot on our floor.
Coming into fall market of 2025, is there a memorable project that you've had in the recent few markets that you still either come back to for inspiration or say that everything went so great in this application?
I would say for me, it would be the country living introduction that we had last fall.
Okay.
That was our launch of the country living space, and it went extremely well. I think, everyone was pleased, from the folks at the Country Living magazine to our staff and the consumers. It was very well received. And then I think for us, wouldn't you agree, like the Trisha Yearwood home?
Yes.
Like we went and designed a house for Trisha Yearwood and Garth, and we had 2-3 weeks maybe to get it all together from start to finish. It was an empty slate. Basically, we took all of the legacy product for the Trisha Yearwood line and installed it in the house. We did the install in like 2.5 days.
Wow.
Yeah, and I would say too, along with the whole Trisha, when we found out that we were able to obtain the license for the Trisha product, it was maybe in August. Klausner used to hold the license, and then they unfortunately closed up shop. And Trisha was looking for a new manufacturer, and our president was he was on it, and he's just that kind of guy, and he saw the opportunity and he went for it. And I think he came to us in August and said, hey, I want to put all these these 12 new groups on the floor, and we had between pre-market and market to put it out.
That's
3 weeks.
That's a huge pivot.
Yeah.
And it's coming from all different locations.
You already have your show planned at that point for everything else in the showroom. So all of these other projects are going on, and now this is dropped in 6 weeks before it's ready to debut.
And we were so excited. I mean, it was a lot of work, but we made it happen, and we're so glad we did, because the Trisha Yearwood line has been great for us.
Can you talk to us about other lines that you guys offer? Trisha that's a huge name, and Country Living, that's phenomenal. Can you talk to us a little bit about some of those partnerships that Legacy has?
Sure. Another one for Legacy and Craftmaster, or just Legacy?
Oh, Legacy and Craftmaster,
yeah. With Craftmaster, we have the Paula Deen line.
Okay.
Which is like very Savannah upholstery line. And then again, Country Living, Trisha Yearwood. Those are the two that we currently have. In the past, we worked with Rachel Ray. That's no longer part of our program, but we're still moving strong with Trisha and Country Living and Paula Deen.
So there's more excitement yet to come with those lines already.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yes.
So to pivot a little bit from the physical showroom space, do y'all use any technology to assist you outside of AutoCAD when it comes to creating these spaces that people are going to visit? Like, is there an AI application that you find useful to any of this?
Never used AI in design. I'm pretty old school when it comes to that.
That question comes up in every guest.
And honestly, I don't know that I would even know how to use AI. But SketchUp is one that we use.
Okay.
But it's mostly AutoCAD and SketchUp, and then just hand drawings.
It's just hand drawings. Oh, that's cool. So there's an art form there that technology has replaced by and large, but I think that there's something to a hand drawn floor plan or the vignette that there's something there that seems a little more nuanced than just digital lines, or especially like an AI. Have you messed with any of the AI when it comes to like room design?
I'm so intrigued by it. Like I want to learn so bad, and I think I feel like, because it's been right at 6 years since I left HPU.
Right.
And things have changed so much since then. So like, I feel like if I would have continued my education in a different way, I probably would have gotten to that point. But you can ask Mel when we're on SketchUp and I'm like always looking like, all right, how do we render this in a better way? How do we, and Sophia, our lovely intern from UNC Greensboro, she's in all this, she knows.
They have
she's
class
our new source.
Strictly AI.
Yep.
And so we want to learn, and that's the thing. You always want to surround yourself with people who excel in things that either you want to learn or you want to improve at. Which
There's
we're
always
trying.
room for improvement.
Every conversation we've had that's brought up AI on the podcast, I think everybody is in the exact same boat. And so that's kind of why I want this to be sort of a relevant part to this conversation is there's an application for AI in every visual, and creative field. It's metered, and I think that teaching classes to, students, when I first went through, design school, Adobe barely existed, like there was, you had freehand, you had Photoshop, and that was kind of it, it was all CD based.
It's the same for me.
Yeah, you just didn't have the application that people have now. So, even film camera in school versus digital cameras now, there is that growing. I think that class is the right way to learn AI because it's dangerous in the real world. Former guest of ours, Erica Surratt, sent this little test where you could write out a description of a room, so your ideal room. And it was, for me, it was a British colonial room, with whatever color rug. And it would generate a room, and it was very close. Like if you wanted taller trees, shorter trees, you could even go down to the Kelvin of lighting you wanted in the room. So there's an application there. But I think that too many times, especially in like the graphic design side of things, we see, younger students, coming out where their portfolio is 90% just AI generated images, and if you describe it really well, maybe it still counts as art. But, I think that there's a potential to get very lazy with our design when we start letting computers do the bulk of the work.
Yeah, and I think it puts people out of jobs,
I agree.
And I don't want to see that happen because I feel like with design, it's not just about creating a beautiful space, but it's about connecting with people.
Agreed.
And having a connection and understanding their personality and their needs and what they're looking for in their spaces.
Absolutely. No, I agree. A fun little side story. Logan, our producer, has been one of our guests on the podcast, and I was trying to figure out the capability of AI, and I said, okay, so here's the whole recording of Logan's episode. Tell me about it. So I just plugged in the transcript and just let it read through it. And the description it gave me was so funny. It said that from starring in Jesus Christ Superstar, Logan Floyd, this talented musician and artist, and it's thought like, okay, robot, you're not there yet. And you're right, you lose a human touch.
Yes.
Off of those things. And especially I feel like with showroom design, interior design, lifestyle design, we don't have the ability to let a computer decide the way a human's going to feel in a space. It's
Absolutely.
just, and I agree with you. I kind of don't want it to get there. If you're worried at all about the robot uprising, I feel like, letting them decide how we're going to live in the spaces we call home is probably the most dangerous, slope to start walking down. So if you could talk to future designers or people that are in school right now, or, people that are try and decide if they want to transition from a job they have now to maybe something they keep thinking, I don't really want to do interior design. I feel like it's a bit much to bite off. What would you encourage them to do as kind of like that first step towards that next dream?
I think you really need to think about where you want to be in design. Showroom design, I will say, one of the things I think would be, if I could change something, you're designing the same spaces over and over. Okay. I think we talk about this a lot, and sometimes it's hard. You're kind of stuck within a shell, and you're not able to, even though we like recreate and we think outside the box and we change the spaces each time, it's not always easy. If you want to do something that's not showroom design, where you could branch out and be freelance and do all different types of design and showroom design as well, I think that's a great option. But if you want to do showroom design, you have to understand that you are going to be recreating the same spaces over and over again. But it's a great, stable career.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think sometimes too, like we talk about, we have to put projects on the back burner. Like we'll say, we'll come back to that later because we just like physically, it's not there yet. Like we're not in the right headspace to create, this experience for customers because like, we're like, oh, it's the same thing, like you're always stuck within the same four walls. So there's only so much you can do. And especially in a building like ours, we don't want to spend, however much we're going to spend for something to be there for 6 weeks.
Right.
So like we really have to think about like, is it worth the money to do that?
Right.
And that kind of limits our,
what we would really like to
Yeah.
do in reality.
Yeah. A designer we worked with in the past, Jessica Deuce, she made a comment. I don't know if she coined it. I'm going to give her credit for coining it. I'd never heard it before, but it was designers have dreams and projects have budgets.
Absolutely.
And
that's
like
very true.
that is such a every single conversation we've had with a creative or a designer, that same trope comes up, even in our own industry. When it comes to cinematography, we love specializing in very high end, very cinematic video. Sometimes the budget allows for it, and sometimes it doesn't. It's just. It would be amazing to rent a helicopter for this shot, but I don't think we're going to get the client to agree to rent a helicopter for this shot. So when you're talking about balancing that budget, where do you find yourself kind of not cutting corners, but where do you find yourself kind of balancing that? Like, is it, like you said, you're only open for a few weeks, so is it something that this is worth this because this line is going to be just an absolute showstopper? Or is it more of a, we resonate with this line, and so we want this one to look the most curated?
I think that we know, and with our brands, we have to be careful to protect what they want us to do as well.
Right.
With Country Living, we present them a presentation of everything that we do. And with that, we are going to spend more money on a brand because we do know that in the end it's going to sell through.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Okay.
Sometimes it's just worth it.
Yes.
And I would say too, like in terms of like budget and keeping, the bottom dollar in mind, we recycle a lot. We will do everything we can to reuse something that's still relevant.
That makes sense.
Before we go out and buy anything new.
That makes sense.
We spend weeks going through bedding and art and accessories and lamps, and we will gather up just piles and piles of stuff in our storage area just to be able to say like, okay, we have enough. So that way, like if something happens and we're not able to spend this money or we don't find anything when we're in Atlanta, this is a good starting point.
Okay.
Lots of organized chaos.
Yes.
I imagine. I can't imagine storing all of those. 100,000 square foot showroom. It seems like if you're starting to take walls or windows down and out, where do you put all of those? Like
we are very blessed with a lot of storage space. I'm glad we're in our own building because we have our artwork, by color in our hallways. We have our accessories organized by color. We are both a little OCD when it comes to things like that because time is of the essence always for us.
Right.
And the more organized you can be, the more, I guess, what's the word? Like proactive and conscious of all of the decisions that you're going to be making. It's just going to be more fluid.
That makes sense. I guess briefly, just because you're the first guest that I can actually take advantage of this, but you are one of Johnny's clients when it comes to the photography. Talk to us about how important photography is for these lines, especially for we've built sets for y'all, for different things to kind of mirror or continue the voice that you create in the showroom. Can you talk to us a little about the photography of your product?
I think that our relationship with Johnny Davis Design is incredible. From all of the staff, the photographers, everyone is just great to work with. I just want to say that first.
Thank you.
And then I think that the whole process, Christopher, our marketing guy, he should be here today. He is just amazing guy, amazing personality, very organized. We all mesh well together. And when we're able to have you guys come into our showroom and shoot all of our photography, and then we do some of the things at the studio, but I think having the flexibility and just again, the connections and the relationship. We have fun together. It never really feels stressful.
No, it doesn't.
And I think that makes it 10 times easier on us, our marketing team, our showroom team, you guys, just being able to have a conversation and no one gets upset.
And Johnny's always been very adamant that the relationship he has with you and with Chris is so vital to him, because you're one of the only clients he has that he can say, I've got this weird idea. If it doesn't work, I won't charge you for it, but can we do this? And Chris is always, yeah, well, why not? Let's try it. In fact, Legacy Classic is why Johnny expanded into video. Y'all were the first client that said, could you do a video for the HFO collection?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what caused that first investment. And then it became well, what else can we do with this? What else, where else can we utilize, this technology that we've invested in? So the partnership between Legacy and Johnny has always been amazing. And, we love, the different projects when you come to our studio or when we go to your showroom. And that's why I was kind of hoping to touch on was when you're creating budgeted projects and you're creating these very elaborate, very immersive showroom spaces, it really makes the most sense to get the maximum real estate out of it by using it in photography, because it may live and die in a market, but the assets, generated within there, they can go for 2 or 3 years, marketing that same product. So is that part of that budget conversation you have when you think, we're going to invest a lot of money in this showroom space, let's utilize it?
Yes. And Dustin's so funny because he's like, you're not going to make these rooms any smaller, are you? But so we do keep that in mind as much as possible. Because we know that if we can create a space or an environment that you guys can come in and shoot photography, and then us not have to, one, take it out on location and, risk damage to our product, damage to our accessories and so forth, then I think that's the smarter thing to do. So if we can spend a little more money up front to add windows or doors or different aesthetic things to the wall, like be it moldings or whatnot, then we will do that.
I wanted to talk too about like how really what you guys create, the photography, the supplements that you give, that they're able to put out to our sales force. At the end, that's what the customer sees.
Right.
That is the end, say your neighbor across the street goes into a furniture store and buys Legacy Classic. They don't see what's in our showroom.
Right.
They see the photography that you guys provide, and that's what is the decision maker for them.
So it has to be on brand
Yes.
and on story.
Absolutely.
You're
and
absolutely
it's,
right.
It's such a high quality product that comes out of your studio that I think that makes a difference. We, have experimented with shooting photography at other places in the past. There was some experimentation overseas, that kind of thing. And we got it back and we were like, you know what, it's not the same.
We hear that,
Yeah.
more often than you would imagine.
So it makes a huge difference in the quality that you're producing. So we appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I know Johnny would too. Johnny, one of those funny, Johnny stories, but he shot a collection for y'all several years ago. And he was proud of it, but then he kind of put it out of his mind. In the following market, he saw it printed large somewhere on the side of a building or something, but it was printed. And he saw the image and he thought, that's a good looking photo. I'd like to know who did that. And mentioned it, took a picture of it, sent it to Chris and said, this is the kind of photography I want to do. And Chris said, that's your photography with our product. Talk to us about what inspires you personally and professionally. Like, where does your inspiration come from? I think that there's like this electric energy that happens with market. And I know some people hate the market hurricane and other people really live for it. I live for it, but where do y'all come down on both sides of that?
I think that we thrive the best when we are
under the gun.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, for sure.
Yes, there have been markets in the past where we've worked 45, 50 days in a row, 7 days a week, 10 hours a day. And the best quality and the best product, like when you're under the gun and you feel the stress sitting on top of you, I think that's when you really feel like you produce the best work, and it's the work you're proudest of.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think as far as like where do we draw our inspiration from, I think it's from everywhere.
Okay.
From, we give unsolicited design advice just driving to eat lunch.
Okay.
We'll drive down the road and I'm like, why won't they paint that building white, add some black trim? And I think that it's just driving down the road to fashion, to magazines,
TV,
everything.
Yeah.
People.
I like that. So that's sort of, again, most of these conversations we've had, fashion designers are inspired by, furniture and home furnishings. Interior designers are inspired by automotive design, in automotive interiors. We're seeing so much overlap that, companies like High Point by Design, they're there for the design aspect of everything that High Point produces. And so I do like to tie a little bit of the conversation back into, as a community, we are inundated with a lot of design, and I think most people are nowadays. People 10 years ago, if you asked them what typeface something was in, most of them wouldn't know, but Apple was even kind of changing that game and getting different typefaces more recognizable and known to people. But living in High Point and working in High Point, we have more around us, to take in, especially during market. And I'm sure that when y'all just visited Atlanta, it's a whirlwind. It's a kaleidoscope of design in all different applications. So I was wondering, kind of, coming off from Atlanta, are you motivated now to tear back into your showroom and
100%.
say, "This is
That's
okay"?
like the thrill of our summer, I think.
Oh yeah.
We look forward to doing that because it does kind of push you a little to think outside of your box. And I also would like to say that I think getting inspiration from other designers.
Okay.
I think I've never been afraid to learn from other designers. Like, I feel like we have so much to teach each other, and I think we should work together and not against each other.
Absolutely.
Because there's so many different relationships and things we can learn
Yes.
from each other.
Yes.
Just the networking there. I wish that we had more events in High Point that did that.
We're excited that the next 5 or 7 years, according to HPXD's, kind of calendar, like their run out, I think we are going to start seeing a lot more design-centered events, in and around High Point, which I think is going to be incredible because I agree with you. Creativity begets creativity, and if you can get more creatives in rooms together where they're not seeing each other's competition, but collaboration instead, you start losing some of the gatekeeping and what's mine is mine and you stay over there, and you start realizing that your product and my product works great together with this wall covering made by this person. You start seeing these more four-dimensional environments start shaping up, and I think Legacy has always been wonderful at that in your showroom design. Is when you walk in, it's not one dimension that's hitting you. It's hitting you from all the different dimensions all at once, and it's so agreeable. It makes you feel like everything kind of is ticking to the right clock, while you're in there. There are some showrooms, and I think people less experienced or, people that are looking at design through a different eye, where it feels very disjointed. It feels like, I don't think I'm in the same showroom anymore, but in reality, you just walked around the wall, like turn the corner.
I definitely think that, like brand continuity within a showroom is a big thing. And our customers know that like they're going to walk into our space and there's not going to be like one item sitting on a table. It's going to be like a pile of stuff, because you
want it to feel lived in.
Yes,
absolutely.
And a lot of showrooms, we're very lucky in the fact that we do have the budget and the storage to maintain a collection of stuff to prop with, and a lot of showrooms don't, and so it doesn't really evoke the same emotion, as a homey showroom.
Yes. Yeah. No, I agree with that too. When you curate those props and those accessories, is that project by project, or do you just see stuff out and you're like, we might use that in the future?
It's mostly project by project, but there are those items that we have to have that. I don't know where we're going to put it, but it has to come home with us.
We'll find the reason. Yep. Build an entire room around. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Melissa and Addy, I wanted this conversation to be one of those, we share a lot of industry together, but you're so much from the practical and aesthetic side of what we are then photographing. And so it is very neat. I would like to do another couple of these, maybe after market, where we come on and we just see what happened during this market, things we can release at that point, and then kind of recap this conversation going forward. I mean, this is wonderful.
No, it's been great, and we appreciate you having us. We joke a lot. You know, we think there should be a designer reality TV show
100%.
of showroom design because no one really knows the blood, sweat, and tears that go into it.
I think that would be a really cool small series, maybe even to do, you know, at a market, just following y'all day by day, you know, how these projects take shape, how you convert this to this, you know, some before and after. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, there would be a lot of editing.
Yeah.
Well, we have that ability too. We can do that
teasing.
as well. Can you tell people where to find both yourselves on Instagram, social media, as well as Legacy Classic?
Sure. So we have Legacy Classic Instagram. I think it's just Legacy Classic Furniture, and then Craftmaster Furniture. And then the two of us, we started a Designers at 2622 Instagram.
Okay.
It's kind of like it encompasses just kind of what we do behind the scenes, and then our large showroom sales. Anything you want to add to that?
No, I think that's about it.
That's really it.
All right. Well, thank you all so much again. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.